Guess I should pull the microphone over. Welcome to the Tim Runs His Mouth podcast. I'm Tim Young, and I want to go through a story that I've been following for a while now. It's my late night rabbit hole watching. I think a lot of people have gone through this. If you haven't heard anything about Tiffany Henyard in Dalton, we're gonna go through it today. I think in depth. A lot of people have been going crazy about this person. She's basically a dictator who has taken this town's budget from, I believe they had a surplus, and now they're, by estimates, 7 million in the hole, refusing to turn over any kind of records of the spending in the city, and driving the city's trustees crazy because she'll just ban them from the building. She'll do all sorts of fun stuff. I believe the county clerk was banned from their office at one point. She's fired everyone from the chief of police to whatever else. Also, apparently, two people are supposed to sign the checks, as in most municipalities, to have some sort of check and balance on the money. And at times, I believe she's signed checks over $500,000, probably to her friends. But on top of everything else that's going on there, she's paying the police such an exorbitant amount of money. By the way, I thought Democrats were supposed to defund the police, but she's actually paying them so much in overtime and uses them as personal security that they all do her bidding. Like, they at one point went around and gave out $500 parking tickets, like after the fact, after people had parked in certain areas, and $500 parking tickets at that. So this is a mess of a town. If I were you, I would totally avoid Dalton, Illinois. I mean, I'm sure the people there are nice, but it's turned into, I think, so the citizens there are protesting this person. They've been going crazy for a while about this. But I think if these people paid attention to national politics and not just what's happening there, because, they have access to these people, I think they'd be just as angry. But if I were you, I'd totally avoid, if for some reason you go through, I don't think there's any reason to go to Dalton, Illinois, especially not now, but unless you want to see the billboards that she's made of herself, I would avoid Dalton, Illinois altogether. So we're going to get into that story in just 1 second. Before then, though, because News Nation has been on top of it, WGN, because, again, WGN, News Nation, same studio in Chicago, right next to Dalton. I mean, this is good tracking for them. This is good. This is a grand slam, as they would say in the news business, because you have an obnoxious person who isn't going away, who's outraging the public. It's got to be great ratings. It's obviously doing well for them online. It's doing well enough that I decided to do a stream on it and talk about it here on the podcast. So obviously doing well for them. So I went over to News Nation, and I just want to cover this line really quickly because it's before we get into the other stuff. I don't know if you can see this here. 8 Texas counties issue disaster declaration ahead of solar eclipse. Now, she looks very shocked. She's not. Here's the...
We're also just 4 days away from the Great American Solar Eclipse, and right now, people in its path are racing to prepare for all of the incoming crowds. This is...
Oh, she's pregnant, I think. Congratulations. Thought that was a weird angle for a second there. All right, so again, you have a shock headline. 8 Texas counties issued disaster declaration ahead of solar eclipse. That's only because they're expecting in certain small towns, I think Kaufman, Texas being one of them that they talk about in this story, they're expecting 200,000 people to show up. And the disaster declaration allows them to use funds, sort of like Tiffany Henyard, to pay for extra emergency and first responders. That's it. That's all it is. They just want to make sure that when you have 200,000 people coming into a town that has 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000, that they have all of their emergency equipment available, just in case they have to actually, there might be a riot, there might be, like, if for some reason, people stampede over each other, because it's very exciting to look at a solar eclipse. Sure. I don't care. Then, that's what the game is. They just want to make sure that they have enough people and enough resources to be able to help out the crowds. If something goes awry, or if they need more even crowd control or traffic control, stuff like that. That's all it is. So that's just temporary. Do not read into that. I know a lot of people think the end of the world is coming because there's a solar eclipse, guys. That's very ooga booga stuff. Where, like, cavemen are like, oh, shadow on sun must must worship gods. No, there's nothing. It's just a solar eclipse. Like I've seen all of these conspiracy theories with it. Look, and I understand that conspiracy theories, especially about the old Rona, were right. And things were written off as conspiracy theories about the Rona. But in this instance, it's just a solar eclipse. I understand it's a rarity, be fun to see, but nobody's turning into zombies. We're not opening a portal into some sort of other dimension. It is just shadow over the sun. Is it the moon that crosses in front of with the solar eclipse? Is that when the moon crosses in between the path of the oh, here we go. That's going to be used against me. Solar eclipse. Isn't it when the moon crosses? It has to be the moon crosses in between the path of the Earth and the sun, right? Solar eclipse happens just the right moment when the moon passes between the sun and the Earth. Yeah, of course. Because when a lunar eclipse happens, it's when the Earth passes in between the sun, and it's the shadow. And then this is the actual physical, the moon going in between. So again, nothing shocking. Don't get freaked out. I don't understand why people are losing minds. So here we go. Old school ed. New York's going crazy about this. Also, schools are closing, and state police are telling people to prepare and make sure they have why? Why? We've had enough solar eclipses. I was at the one in DC. What was it? 6 years ago. Thanks for your comment, old school ed. It's just the moon crossing. Nothing's going to happen, and if it does, then you can tell me I'm wrong. But nothing's going to happen. So if you need to go prep and buy your freeze-dried corn. We don't have a freeze-dried corn and peas sponsor, obviously, on the show, or else I'd be like, go prep now for the end times that are coming when the ooga booga, the sun goes black. Look, it's fun to believe that there's outer space things, and there's most likely life in outer space, but I'm not buying that there's a portal or that some sort of nefarious something. I'm sure some weird pagans are doing some sort of weird pagan ritual by having sex with trees or something. Not my thing. Okay. But the emergency declaration thing, again, is just to have police available and first responders available in case there's like trampling of people in certain areas while they're staring at a moon passing and in between the Earth and the sun. I'm not. Again, you can tell me I'm some sort of libtard or something, but I am a libtard. Look, I got my my Vermints, the ginger mints from Vermont. I don't care. I'll look at it. Ooh, maybe I'll turn into a zombie. It's happened. It's happened enough times in the world's history that like nothing. We're not going to fly into space. There won't be a weird portal. We're not suddenly going to be out of bread, toilet paper. Hit my microphone there. Bread, toilet paper, and milk. Okay. Sorry. And if you think the end of the world is coming on, a couple days from now, if you think the end of the world is coming, you can give me all of your worldly possessions. You can sign them over to me. Because I've gotten people to do this before, not promise that they would give me all their worldly possessions. It turns out they won't. When someone promises you all their worldly possessions because they think the end of the world is coming, it turns out when the end of the world doesn't come, they change their mind. So I legitimately, I should find that. I should have saved that conversation. This is how long ago it was. It was on like Facebook or something. It was a guy I went to high school with, and he was convinced one of those random days was like the end of the world. And I go, okay, then give me all of your worldly possessions. And he's like, I'll do it. I'll leave it to your name. Here's the record of it, blah, blah, blah. And it turns out the world did not end. Has not ended. Sorry to disappoint. The world has not ended yet. All right, so I want to get into my favorite. I have to get through a stupid advertisement to get to my favorite story. Sorry, my nose is like my allergies going crazy. Maybe that's what a lunar eclipse or solar eclipse is. Lunar's the moon. Good God, Tim, get it together. Maybe that's what a solar eclipse does. It makes my nose itch. That could be. All right, so I'm gonna go to the dirty YouTubes. because News Nation has covered this pretty well. So has WGN America. We're going to start with, I've not seen these yet. I've just gone down the rabbit hole. I think these are pretty good compilations. These news networks have really figured out how to cover Tiffany Henyard, and it is long form compilations, because that gets them extra views on the shit that they've already done. So we're going to go through what News Nation has covered already. And if this isn't good enough, we'll switch over to another video. I have not watched this one yet. This is Dan Abrams live. God bless him over there at News Nation. Dalton's dictator mayor. Here we go. Ready? And I'm going to interrupt this a bunch. I enjoy this. I enjoy covering Tiffany Henyard. I enjoy watching this because she is a corrupt clown who uses the police to intimidate her political opponents. Apparently, she has used taxpayer funds to go on like lavish trips. You know, when you're Dalton, nobody's ever heard of Dalton, Illinois. They've got a couple of people that live there, and they have a very small budget. But she flies herself first class everywhere. She has full-time security. One of her security guards, I think, got like 314 hours over a 2-week period or something like that. And like literally, they're pulling checks. They're pulling like $20,000, close to $20,000 checks. Some of these cops for their overtime security of her, as if she's gotten any actual threats. All right, here we go. This is Dan Abrams live. He was covering Dalton's dictator mayor, and we'll go through this. I think this is going to be a fun watch and a fun tutorial on this person. Again, Dalton, Illinois has worst mayor in America, says one resident. No, says many residents. Here we go.
In a Chicago suburb are demanding their so-called dictator mayor, Tiffany Henyard, resign.
Oh, by the way, they had a recount election for her at one point, and she lost handedly. And then one of the judges, I believe either she appointed or was friends with, overturned the election because they said it wasn't handled properly. Dictator.
Faces mounting embezzlement and even a sexual assault scandal. The Dalton.
Oh, yeah. So also in one of her lavish trips to Las Vegas, one of the other trustees who she's friends with was accused of essentially sexual assault. It seemed like the big R word happened, and they fired the woman who accused the person of sexual assault instead of doing anything about it. They did an internal investigation. They were like, nope, everything's fine. And they kept all of this secret until about a month ago when that story came out. All right, so sorry, I'm gonna start this again, and we'll do a little watch along here. Again, this is probably the worst mayor in America, and amazing how residents have woken up to this, but have not woken up to just how corrupt Biden is.
Chicago suburb are demanding their so-called dictator mayor, Tiffany Henyard, resign as she faces mounting embezzlement and even a sexual assault scandal. The Dalton Village monthly board meeting on Monday erupted into total chaos as frustrated residents demanded answers from the self-described Democratic super mayor over alleged misuse of money. There was a lawsuit, possible cover-up of sexual assault allegation. In one incident, former assistant says she was fired after she said she was sexually assaulted by a staffer on a taxpayer-funded work trip.
It was one of the trustees that was on the trip. So they actually know who it is because you could narrow down who was on the trip. Also, this meeting that they had on Monday, this town board meeting, the head of the chief of police, who is one of her friends because she overpays all the police, told people that if they clapped, there were credible threats, and that clapping, even though everyone came into the meeting through a metal detector, that clapping would shut down the meeting. And they, again, it was insane. He kept correcting the crowd and threatening to shut down the meeting. It just so happened that people would clap after they would insult the mayor, and then he would threaten to shut down the meeting after they insulted the mayor.
To Vegas last year, mayor is accused of trying to silence her.
You know what happened in Vegas. You know what happened. And you should be addressing it.
You've done nothing. You don't care about nobody but yourself.
You know what you're doing. You're violating our rights. And that's a shame.
You lied. You lied to us as residents. You do not stand for me. And I want you to step down.
And they say that you're the worst mayor in America. I agree.
I want you to get out of our...
You see, by the way, that when this is the meeting the other night, that there's a police officer, one of her like stooges, is standing next to these people the entire time. I've never been to a city council meeting where you are stood next to and intimidated by a police officer. Nobody mentioned that during this meeting. I watched the meeting the other day. It was really fun to watch. But this is how like corruption is. So, of course, they're talking about the Vegas trip, all of our first class travel, the sexual assault allegations. On top of that, she's put, and we may get into this, the billboards around town with her face on them. This is with like for no purpose, using taxpayer funds. No purpose. They're like, oh, hey, here's the mayor. Put her name on everything. This is a town how many residents? Hold on. Population, Dalton, Illinois. There's 20,000 residents. It used to be like 25, and it's apparently dropped to 20,000 now. So they've lost, since 2000, they've lost the 20% of their residents. But this mayor apparently has anybody who's been a political opponent of hers and runs a business in town either can't get the right paperwork to continue their business or has been just like their events have been shut down by the police. It's been a fun time. I really enjoy watching this. All right, here we go. Back in.
Town. You're a renter here. You don't even own in Dalton. So get out. Leave. We don't want you here. You or your administration. Y'all need to go.
Police ended up clearing the room after the heated exchange, saying they were credible threats. The board was expected to approve an investigation into the mayor's alleged lavish spending.
Oh, yeah. So here's the thing. They actually say that the FBI has been investigating her, and then the board voted. So the board of trustees voted to have the mayor investigated and have all of the funds looked into, all of the financial reports turned over for investigation. So being the great Democrat that she is, she vetoed. She says she's not guilty of anything, but she vetoed any kind of audit on her and her office. So, yeah, it's a fun time. There we go. Again, this is the most corrupt Democrat. But all these people who are so enraged there, I wish they'd pay attention to national politics. I really wish they did, because if they're upset about what's happening there, they'd lose their shit seeing what happens on national stage. Here we go.
Spree after she herself shut it down last month, despite a $2 million deficit. The 4 trustees who voted in favor of that investigation stormed out of the meeting in protest. They were protesting police kicking some of their constituents out. And then Mayor Henyard slammed them for leaving.
As you just saw, is chaos amongst our 4 trustees. They didn't come here to handle the business. They came here to do a political theater stunt, which you just saw. We didn't get the...
Oh, she's ghetto too, by the way. The which should be... I don't understand this rise in just... Yeah, and it's true. Like, you'd be like, oh, he's racist. No, it's not. I grew up in Baltimore. You know when somebody's ghetto. You know when somebody's white trash. This is... She also apparently has a criminal record for breaking into cars before she became mayor. I mean, what a perfect Democrat. But she gets up and she vetoed the investigation on herself. Okay. And then everything since then has been just like, you hear her talk. She refused to open the meeting up. So when this meeting was happening, this is actually pretty bad reporting from News Nation. When this meeting was happening the other day, Monday, it would have been Monday the 1st, April 1st. They did not open the meeting room enough for everyone to get in. So there were like a couple dozen people outside that were pretty pissed that they couldn't get into the meeting. And there was a concern from one of the trustees who doesn't like her that there would be an Open Meetings Act complaint or violation. And they have to be careful because this person, again, was able to use a judge to overturn the results of a recall election on herself. She does know how to stay in office. Like, so like the corruption is there. You know exactly she knows exactly what she's doing. So they voted, the trustees voted before she went off. Like, again, like this poor reporting by Dan Abrams or whatever his name is here. They voted to postpone the meeting a week so that they could have a larger area so that more people could attend. And so then they could conduct the business and have a proper open meeting. So it wasn't them storming out because of anything else. They just wanted to make sure that they had a legal meeting. But this person is insane.
Any business as it relates to a scheduled board meeting.
The controversies don't end there. The high-rolling mayor is accused of wasting thousands of taxpayer dollars on billboards and posters of herself posted around town. One resident compared her to Venezuelan dictator Nicolas Maduro by posting her face everywhere. Henyard also appears to be obsessed with herself on social media, making several posts like this.
Hey guys, this is Super Mayor Tiffany A. Henyard, the people's mayor. So, you guys doing a lot of snitching, and y'all went and got my site shut down. My Tiffany on the Move podcast, Tiffany Henyard on the Move podcast.
She started to do a podcast to respond to critics, and she did a bunch of these like really stage interviews with people like Roland Martin, where she would only answer certain questions. And I don't know if you know who Roland Martin is, but it's like par for the course. So she goes and does all of these interviews with people who will only ask like non-pressing questions. They, kind of just follow along with her narrative. And again, I encourage you to go down the rabbit hole of all of this stuff, but it's really fun to see just how corrupt things can get in a city if you're not paying attention to what you're voting for. But she had launched her own podcast because she loves the fame that she's getting from this, and then pulled it down for some reason. So here, maybe, and again, sorry, I've been really choppy about like showing this reporting, but it hasn't been good reporting from News Nation here. So let's see if this is covering why she pulled down her podcast. Again, she lies constantly. This is probably one of my favorite Democrats ever, because she is just a scumbag and lies about everything, then uses the police to intimidate people who are her political opposition, and refuses to give business licenses to people who oppose her. She basically holds everybody up to get campaign donations. It's unbelievable. All right, here you go.
You guys doing a lot of snitching, and y'all went and got my site shut down. My Tiffany on the Move podcast, Tiffany Henyard on the Move podcast. Well, it's said that when truth speaks, everybody gets scared and everybody gets up running.
Hold on. When truth speaks, so when her board of trustees asked for an investigation into her and wanted financial documents released, she vetoed it. And they're going to have to veto override it. So I don't know why she believes that she can speak the truth, or talking about how she is the truth speaker, when she's hiding her own financial documents from her town.
Well, just like I told you, if you want the tea, get it from me.
Everybody loves you when things are going great, but you really get to see who you are and who the real people around you are when things aren't. And those people that you can tell are real, you hold on.
These are videos that she's made of herself, by the way, and posted. She's supposed to be the mayor of this town, and she's making these videos about herself again. This is no different than any national Democrat, by the way. Just it's been highlighted because it's this poor town of 20,000 people that she's run the budget into the ground and made it everything about herself.
You stay true to those relationships.
Henyard is also accused of taking a hefty $300,000 a year salary.
Again, that's more than members of Congress and the United States Senate. She makes more money than members of Congress and the U.S. Senate, and she only represents a town of 20,000. A poor town of 20,000 in a suburb of Illinois.
Reportedly also spent thousands on first-class trips, professional hair and makeup team, expensive outfits, as many of the low-income residents she represents struggle to pay bills. Get this, she proposed a new law that would cap the next mayor's salary at $25,000.
Yes, this is, don't glance over that. So there was a law that she put up, that she proposed, that her current salary, I think, is somewhere around $250,000, and then she has another position that gets her over $300,000. But she proposed a new law that if she loses the election, the next mayor only makes 1/10 of basically what she makes, about $25,000, which is where the mayor's salary should be in a town like Dalton.
Henyard denies everything.
It's a shame that people can come to meetings and just tell one-sided stories and not get the entire side of both stories.
Joining me now is Valerie Stubbs. She's a longtime resident and former trustee of Dalton Village. She is also an outspoken critic of the mayor. Thanks very much for.
So this is this is one of the people who always speaks at these meetings, and again, these people were very passionate about local politics. My God, if they paid attention to national politics, Biden wouldn't be in office, there'd never be another Democrat elected again. If they paid attention, the amount of attention that they give to this person, if they gave that much attention to Biden and the national Democrats.
For coming on the program, appreciate it. So what is
even the mayor of Chicago? If they paid enough attention to the mayor of Chicago, he wouldn't be in either.
What's going on with this mayor? I've never heard people this angry about something like this. What's going on?
Thank you, Dan, for having me on. First of all, this tyrant of a mayor is the worst mayor in America. She's spending all of our tax dollars. She's not transparent on our finances. We're $7 million in debt. She's using the police officers to violate our First Amendment rights.
Her graphics department, though, is amazing. This Tiffany Henyard's graphics department is making a gazillion dollars. Literally, like they must be. I mean, all they do is put her face on everything known to man, a name on everything known to man. Oh, also, by the way, Tiffany Henyard had a charity. She had a charity called like Tiffany Cares. And the Illinois Attorney General's office said, hey, you can't fundraise anymore for this. You have to suspend your fundraising until we complete an investigation of your Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation, which, by the way, she went on marches for and she did all the stuff, her name's on it. When they questioned her about it, and I don't have the video pulled up, when they questioned her about it, she says she has nothing to do about it. Nothing to do with an organization called Tiffany Henyard Cares. They just have her name all over it. This is one of my, again, amazing corruption, just absolutely amazing corruption. And somebody who thinks everyone else is as stupid as her. That's what happens with a lot of these corrupt people, is that they think that everybody else is as stupid as they are. So she had a charity as well. I should have really taken some notes and put this down. She had a charity as well that fundraised for cancer. Who knows? Had her face on a bus. They had a wrap of her face on a bus and her name all over it. And she said she had nothing to do with it. Like, again, it's one thing to be like trash that uses money for yourself and rips off taxpayers. It's another to think that people are so stupid. Also, she used taxpayer money to donate to her charity.
She needs to go.
And you've said that something happened at your house that the mayor, you think, orchestrated?
It's a great possibility. I wouldn't put it past her. Last summer, my house was sprayed with bullets. Two of my tenants' cars got shot up, 9 times. It was rounds in my backyard. And thank God no one was coming out to go to work, because they would have definitely got shot.
Okay, there aren't. And this is another thing that happens. Again, this person has so much stuff. This Tiffany Henyard has so much ghetto garbage around her that there was a drive-by shooting against this woman at her house. This is another one of the issues. Drive-by shootings aren't common in Dalton, Illinois. Chicago, but Dalton, no. And it just so happens that this woman, who is one of the most vocal opponents of the mayor there, had a drive-by shooting only at her house, not like around the area, only her house. So, like, again, corruption at a level we have never seen.
Why do you think the mayor's behind it?
She have been to my house on numerous occasions, calling me a hater of hers. She have bought a caravan to my house, ringing all my doors, bells, asking for me, and was I at home? Would I come out? And she had absolutely no business at my house.
So what happens now? Is there any chance that the mayor's actually going to get ousted?
Well, we tried to recall her, and it was a legal technicality. The reason why the appellate court would not overturn the ruling for her to be recalled.
It was a friend of hers that was the judge.
So therefore, we have to wait until the next election or until the feds come and get her. And so hopefully the feds will come first before the next election.
Oh, and we don't need an REI advertisement. So what happens here is you've got one of the most corrupt people, one of the most corrupt Democrats I've ever seen in my life. And they go to have a recall election on her. She openly harasses her political opponents. She shuts down their businesses. She uses the police to go after them. There was a drive-by shooting at this woman's house. Nowhere else around the area. Just this nice old lady's house who used to be a Dalton County, Cook County sheriff, and was on the board of trustees at one point. Just so happens only to her, right? The mayor is shooting down votes to investigate the finances of the city. Her face is over everything. She had a charity with her name on it that collected money for cancer that now she claims she had nothing to do with, even though she's marched in the streets for this. She had promotional videos put about her charity. She claims she has no association with it. And then they had a recall election that one of her friends, who's a judge, overturned because of a technicality, they say. This is Democrat. This is a run at just how, an example of just how corrupt Democrats really are. And I wish that the people who lived in Dalton paid attention to national politics the way they do to local politics. We're going to watch one more video here. This is Fox 32 in Chicago. They eat this shit up, by the way. The local stations, again, I've told you this before. They have been eating this up. And they are like, again, this woman is just like anything you think that could be corrupt about a politician. She's done. She's done it all. It appears that there's been a cover-up of sexual harassment. There's been overspending. There's been use of funds to self-promote and campaign. There's been funds sent to her cancer charity that she claims she has nothing to do with. Who knows what funded her podcast at one point. This is, and when the board of trustees voted for an investigation into this person, they vetoed it, even though they're claiming they're open about things. So here we go. This is one more video. She doesn't care. Dalton resident locked out. Dalton residents locked out of the meeting the other night in Dalton.
Controversy in Dalton. Residents there, they're still fired up after they were shut out of last night's village board meeting.
So now we're hearing reports.
Shutting people out of board meetings. I mean, this is like the most corrupt Democrat in all of America. And I just think to myself, like, what KJP probably wishes she was as corrupt as this. It could get away with this.
Of even more shutouts. Dane Placco live with the latest from that community. Dane?
Yeah, you've probably heard of that old expression, you can't fight City Hall. Well, here in Dalton, you can't even get into City Hall, what you see back there. It's now on lockdown under its controversial mayor.
So what do you mean? Why people can't come in there? Why people can't come in there?
She's locked City Hall? How do they even pay their bill? Like, if they have like local bills that you are and local services that are supposed to be given by City Hall, you can't get in to pay the bills.
Now, let me tell you about that. This is a government building. I know y'all know this is a government building, right?
This cell phone video recorded by an angry resident last week who discovered that the door to Village Hall in Dalton is now locked. New security procedures went into place on Tuesday last week. The village says in response to threats against Mayor Tiffany Henyard and employees. Now residents have to talk to a security guard behind a window in the vestibule and conduct their business in that small.
They can't even get in anymore. Again, this is a person who, when you start digging into it, also all of the accounting records disappeared from an office at one point. She's changed the locks on her clerk's offices before because she didn't want things done. Well, she allegedly, the locks got changed, but we don't know by who.
Small, cramped area. Now, this signal of exclusion only got amplified last night when about 25 Dalton residents were refused entry to the village board meeting. 4 of the trustees then canceled the meeting by walking out, saying there was ample room for the crowd and refusing their entry is a violation of the Illinois Open Meetings Act. Today, I talked to a handful of Dalton residents who say they believe Mayor Henyard is trying to deprive them of village services and shut them out of the democratic process.
We are being treated as the resident, I say we, as though we were in prison.
Oh, I really like this. Someone's calling me. Hold on. I never interrupt podcast recordings, but someone's calling me. It's called The Production. I can't wait to see what this is. Hold on. Let's see what this is. Hello? Is this The Production? Okay, nobody answered. I just like that it was called the spam call was called The Production. Here we go.
In our own town, in a place where we pay taxes, we can't get into our village hall. She doesn't care about the residents at all. She wants to control everything, and it's all about what she wants. We're not sitting at the table, and that's bad.
I mean, I again wish that all of these people who are upset about what's happening in the city of Dalton with Tiffany Henyard paid attention to national politics. Truly.
Now, this afternoon, the village responded in a statement essentially blaming the media for all the coverage of the controversy.
Oh, it's the media's fault that they have to lock the town hall
here in Dalton. Allegations of corruption. The village saying, quote, our staff and elected officials have received several disturbing communications via email, social media, phone calls, and visitors from across the country. As such, our security protocols have changed, but they do not say when they may change back and when residents may be able to.
No, this is all again, these people are refusing accountability. They're hiding from accountability, and they're just, again, this is my favorite story in America. Tiffany Henyard, a mayor of a town of 20,000 who gets paid because she has another position too on another township board. She gets paid over, I believe, $300,000. She's paid more than U.S. senators and members of the House of Representatives, almost as much as the President of the United States for a town of 20,000. Has used town funds for first-class trips all around America. Has used town funds to put her face on multiple billboards and pays for these advertisements talking about how there's services in town, but basically it's her face. And then they're like, hey, thank you for, thanks for everything. She's thanking herself. Podcasts. The cars, she has these leases on cars and SUVs that are like over the value of the SUV. Like it's like very clear, because nobody is this stupid. It's very clear that this person is just wasting money and throwing money at her friends, shutting down businesses, having businesses harassed, not giving licenses to businesses for people who oppose her politically, keeping people locked out of meetings, hiding documents. What else has she done? Again, it took a budget surplus of, I believe it was reported over $500,000 and now a deficit of $7 million. This is, again, one of my favorite stories, and I don't think it'll end for a while. Apparently, the FBI is actually investigating her. They've called on that, and when the Board of Trustees asked for an investigation and for proof of documents, she vetoed it. So this is going to be fun to watch. I really enjoy it. I know that it's like catching you guys up because a lot of you only pay attention to local, to national news and your local stuff, but this Dalton mayor thing, the most corrupt Democrat in America, period, and real bad at it. Really an incredibly stupid person. But if these same people that are upset there in that town paid attention to national politics, I think they'd be just as upset as to what's going on with the Biden administration as they are in her local town. That's going to be it for today. I'm Tim Young. This is the Tim Runs His Mouth podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, go just pay attention to what's going on in Dalton, Illinois. It is really one of the most fun stories. I mean, I feel bad for the people who live there, the residents of the town, but it is truly one of the most fun stories to see just how corrupt a Democrat can get. You'll enjoy it. I'm Tim Young. Tim Runs His Mouth podcast.